All right. Welcome to all of our attendees who are joining us today on the webinar. We do have Alicia with us and we will get started in a couple of minutes. Hi Ellen, thanks for joining us. I can see that you're in the webinar and just checking that you can hear me all okay. Excellent. We've got sound, we've got picture. That's what we need. Okay, a few more minutes there, and we'll just wait for a few more to come in. Who I know messaged me a little earlier, Alicia, and said they might be a couple of minutes late. So
perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. I understand.
Yes.
It's always good to let the stragglers find their way in.
Absolutely. We might find a few come in throughout the webinar as well, which I'm sure we're both okay with. Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And so where are you at the moment, Alicia? What location of America?
So I am in Colorado Springs, Colorado, which is where we are based out of. And I'm at home because it's 8:30 at night here. So hopefully there's 2 dogs. Hopefully the dogs won't see someone walk by the window and decide to say hello.
That's okay. Well, I'm sure we'll be able to cope. Yeah. And a little chilly. You were mentioning to me that there's been some snowstorms in the last few days.
Yes, we had, they called it the BombBomb cyclone last week. My kids had 3 snow days in a row, which I don't even remember the last time that they had 3 snow days in a row. So we got quite a bit of snow last week. It's mostly melting, but we're not quite into spring yet.
Yeah, well, as I mentioned, it's still a little warm here in Australia, but hopefully we'll start to cool down as we head into winter, our winter months. So, yeah. All right, let's get started, and any of those latecomers can certainly join in at any stage. I'm also recording this, Alicia, so we'll also send you a copy, and to anyone who is running a little late, we'll certainly get that copy off to you. But Alicia, share a little bit about yourself, BombBomb as a company, and of course, you know, how we certainly got to meet, and we did in America when I was recently over there, and just loved chatting to you about the video world and certainly where that type of technology is taking us. So would really love for you to share that with the audience today.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously I work for BombBomb. I am the national speaker now, which basically just means I'm the evangelist. But I worked in sales for them for a little over 3 years before I took on this role. And my time in sales is one of the reasons why I'm such a big evangelist for the product, because I used it all the time. And the highest level of what we do is we give you the ability to get face-to-face with people more often. You know, as professionals, we know that we can communicate better face-to-face. You know, all of the things that make us good communicators are personality, eye contact, tonality. These are all things that are a very human way to communicate. And yet so much of our business communication happens over plain text emails. And so what we do is we give you the ability to get that face-to-face back again, to, you know, be able to communicate with people in the way that humans communicate most naturally, which is just like this. So we take video and we put it right into the body of the email. So you're not sending people away to YouTube or Facebook. That's more of your marketing for video, or video for marketing. Whereas we really focus on video for communication. So in those places where you're communicating with your clients over email and over text messages, just giving you that face-to-face back.
Great, excellent. And so in talking about video, why is it, I suppose, that BombBomb was created? And I can only assume is because the consumer, it was a product where, you know, they did some research on around what the consumer was really looking for from a communication style. So, you know, it's moving obviously into that direction. I was sharing with you that my 6-year-old nephew was like, let's just watch YouTube, you know, let's just get on there and watch video. Now, of course, they're learning videos on YouTube, but is that really where the direction is moving towards in what our consumer is looking for?
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. We've seen that shift happen, you know, particularly on social media is where it's been really, really evident where people are wanting to watch video over reading plain text information. When Facebook started, you know, years and years ago, we were all sharing statuses, plain text, typing it out. And then we've seen it shift to video, and same thing with, you know, marketing on the internet, where people are choosing to consume their information that way rather than reading plain text. I did pull some stats for you. It says by 2019, which is we're here now,
yes,
internet video traffic will account for 80% of all consumer internet traffic. So video is contributing to about 80% of all traffic. This is one of my favorites. 64% of consumers make a purchase after watching a branded social video. So now that's talking about on social media, consumers watching video, but then that same thing applies when we're talking about in email. You know, when people are able to watch a video, their recall, their understanding of it, their ability to digest that information, it sits better inside of them, because that's how humans communicate most naturally. Viewers retain 95% of a message when they watch it in a video, compared to only 10% when reading it in plain text. And I can send you these stats so that you have them if you want them. But that's another big one, especially when we're talking about business communication. When you're trying to convey a message to a client, when you're typing that message out over text, they're only retaining about 10% of it when they read it that first time, as opposed to over 95% when they watch it in a video.
Yeah,
so it's really, this is the way, you know, for as long as humans have communicated, they communicated face to face. Babies, right? They recognize facial expressions before they latch onto language. And so it's really, it's where people are choosing to consume their information that way, but it's because it's how we communicate most naturally.
Yeah, right. And look, I mean, those statistics, you know, 95% of retaining the message, you know, that's, actually, that just blew me away. You know, for myself as of my personality, I think I would definitely sit into that category, because that's how, you know, I'm one of those, I talk with my hands, I like to see things. I suppose even when doing a training event or attending a conference, you know, I would prefer to learn in that aspect opposed to reading a book. But it's interesting to see that, I suppose, you know, the millennials, or where the generations are moving towards, is because everything now is video, that's how they're wanting to learn, and that's how they're taking in that information.
Yep. Well, and people are communicating this way as well. If you look at the social platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, they've all built video messaging into their platform because people want to communicate this way. You know, we as a company have been doing video email for over a decade now. And suddenly, for the first time, we really have more competition than we've ever had before, because there's been this, it started with marketing, video for marketing took over, and now this video for communication. People are recognizing that the same reason why it works so well for marketing, it's just as effective in that communication space.
Yeah, great. And look, I've had obviously, or have had the privilege to be able to use the product, and I, you know, personally received some really great feedback. And what I found was such a benefit with communicating in this style was, with what I do is with, you know, typing out reports, or I'm giving information and update to the principal of the office to let them know how their team's performing. And I would spend hours on hours writing these emails or writing these reports. Now, I still believe there's an important aspect of having that information, but I was able to give the very key important points via a video. And that was the feedback, that was video is allowing us to get to the point in our messages, And I'd be interesting to hear your feedback around that. That's what people are looking for. That just get to the point, get to the key points, and let us know what we need to know.
Yep. Well, when we're texting out, when we're typing out plain text communication, only about 7% of our communication is the words we're using. Everything else is the nonverbals. So when you're trying to communicate important information and you're working with such a small segment of our communication, you do end up having to describe a lot more and type out words. If you've ever tried to send a quick thank you email, you understand that it's much more complicated to type out thank you in an email that sounds thoughtful and meaningful, as opposed to if you can just say, thank you so much for sending that gift. I really appreciate it. It made my day. You can communicate with less words because you're getting the full breadth. So the time-saving aspect is huge. We speak on average about 4 times faster than we type. That's, this kind of typing. We do so much business on our phone. So it's so much faster to communicate, but then for the recipient as well. It's so much easier for them to just press that play button. Even if they're multitasking, they can hear what you're saying, they can go back. One of the things that I do recommend, though, is that when you are providing very specific information, for example, appointment confirmations, that's a great opportunity to use a video because you're giving them an opportunity to see your face, build some of that know, like, and trust. If it's someone that has anxiety about meeting a new person, they've already started to see your face. But for that kind of message, do the appointment confirmation. Say, Casey, I'm so excited to meet with you tomorrow. But then you want to make sure that pertinent information, the date and time, or if you're sending numbers to someone or sending a report, you can record the video and provide all of the human context and the emotion and communicate in a really effective way, and then use the text portion of that email to put the important details that they would want to write down or that they need to see. And that way they don't have to go back into the video. So you're doing a hybrid of being able to communicate at a really high level with all of the things that make you a good communicator, and then putting that really important written information there with the email. And because you're not sending them to YouTube to watch a video, because you're not, sending them to another link that they have to download, you can have your video right there in the email and then all of that important information, or you can attach documents because you're just sending an email.
Yeah, great. No, that's a really good point to make, because we can send the video and then we can sometimes forget to put in that message some of those important information. So I think that's a really valid point to make. When I was actually a BDM within the property management field, and my responsibility was the growth side of the rental business, I was doing video back then, and I did do some pre-recordings, but I used it around exactly that, confirming the appointment, but also welcoming the client into the business. It was that personal message. When I owned my own business, if it wasn't me that actually physically met them, I used to take their recording. Now, I'm still very fearful of video, Alicia, no one really kind of thinks so, but I actually am. And I know that a lot of people are fearful in regards to whether that's a phone like this or they're doing a recording. And I suppose that's human nature. But talk us maybe through some tips, if you don't mind, about really what the consumer doesn't see that we're fearful, right? So we kind of just got to dive in. So I'd like to you to share some tips around that.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite topics because I believe so strongly in video. And yet I know, when I'm on the road and traveling around, I have people come up to me constantly, even people that have, been subscribers of our service for a year or 2 years sometimes, that haven't recorded a video because they were afraid. So I think, there's a few aspects of it. Number one, we're not used to seeing ourselves on camera unless you are part of the selfie generation. It's a new thing for a lot of people, especially us talking and speaking. You can take a video, or you can take a picture, you can try and get that selfie, and you can take it 10 or 15 times and you can put a filter on it. But when it's a video, you have your voice and you have all of the little mannerisms, or you start to notice things about yourself. And so my number one encouragement is always, don't watch your videos. Don't do it. Think about it like a voicemail, especially when you're talking about this kind of video for communication. I do a tremendous amount of video, both for, communication. I do videos for the marketing team. I'm actually, I've been a paid actor since I was 12 years old. So I have been appearing on camera for many, many, many years. And I will tell you the same things that our customers struggle with. I struggle with that too. And I have to sometimes do that. Just don't watch it, just hit send and not obsess over those things. And someone like you and I that are on video all the time, people do assume that, oh, you must be comfortable with it, but it still is a little bit of a challenge. So on our website's homepage for the company, they've had our CEO and co-founder's face on that webpage, the front page of our website. And they wanted to A/B test with a female face. And so our photographer took a picture of me last week. It was up on the website. I hadn't even noticed. And everyone was like, oh, I saw you on the website. So today I went and logged onto the website for the first time and saw my face there. And my first reaction was, oh, I don't like that picture. Right? So it's human nature. So I would encourage you, number one, you have to just not obsess over it. You just have to don't watch your video back and just hit it. And then the second thing to remember, and this is the most important point, is that the value that you bring to your clients is who you are as a human being, right? As a property manager, or whether you're selling real estate, or the value that you bring to your clients is who you are. And that's what people are looking for. People don't care about the same things that we care about. In fact, consumers are more likely to trust a video that is imperfect than the perfect ones. We see this with our clients. You can find the marketing data for it on the internet. But videos that are too polished, that are edited, that are too flawless, where someone has a green screen behind them and the music, people are less likely to trust them because it feels like they're being marketed to. Whereas the simple video with bad lighting sitting at your desk where you said 3 times, it feels human. And that is why people latch onto it. And that is really why what we do is so effective. One of our taglines is rehumanizing your communication, because we're just being more human. And that's what people can connect with. The goal is never just to send more video. The goal is to connect with people, because when we can connect effectively, our business grows.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you're 100% right. I record a lot of video every single week, and I do watch it back and I go, oh gosh, I don't like that one, I'm not using that one, I just pulled that face, all of those things. Whenever I'm speaking at a conference event and it gets recorded, I never watch it. I listen to it to see, obviously, am I delivering the content the way I'd like to deliver, but I just can't watch myself because I just know I would just be like, oh, that's not getting published at all. So I think it's something that is important, because people do see, the likes of myself as a trainer in the industry is that we must be so comfortable in doing this. But, I'm still fearful of it every single day. But I saw that within our industry, as not just in our industry, but in the way in which we need to communicate, that it was so much easier to get messages across and provide value-add content to people within the industry specifically of how we could actually help them, and doing it in that format instead of writing long-winded marketing emails that no one reads anymore.
Well, you can't connect with it. And that's what we see. That's what we see all across the board. And it doesn't matter what industry you're in. If you are working with consumers, the goal is to be able to make a connection with that consumer. It doesn't matter whether you're Adidas and you're trying to get consumers to connect with you, or you are, working in the real estate field and property management, and you're trying to get people to connect with you. It's that same piece, and it's really that human element. Now, there are things that you can do with your videos to help them look better. Lighting is a big one. So you want to make sure that the lighting is coming from in front of you and not behind you. So I keep a desk lamp on my desk so that before I record a video, I just turn the lamp on. And that way, instead of having the bad overhead fluorescence, I have some light coming on my face. So that's a big one. You want to make sure that your camera is at about eye level or just a little bit above. You will feel better about your video. No one really likes the way they look from that underneath double chin. But then also when people watch it back, if you're looking down at the camera when you're recording your video, when they watch it back, it actually more creates this feeling like you're talking down to them. Whereas if you have it right at eye level, it creates a more mutual experience. So there's little tips like that that can help your videos look better, having good lighting, having good sound, making sure your camera's at eye level. But ultimately, you have to just get over that voice in the back of your head that says you're not good enough, or your video, isn't good enough, or your voice sounds too squeaky. You have to ignore those things.
Yeah. And listen, those two tips were fantastic tips. Can we dive into that just a little bit more around some of the content, and more so maybe timing? Because I'm hearing a lot about the fact that with a video, it's sort of your first 10 to 15 seconds that if you haven't been able to engage or get that engagement from the person watching the video, that then they lose interest straight away. So am I right on the money around some of the tips around? Yeah. So what would be some of your tips around maybe initially starting the video? I've experienced that myself of, what do I say first? Do I introduce myself, or do I just kind of dive straight into the content? I'd love to know your thoughts on that.
Yeah. I think it depends on your use case for it. So a personal one-to-one video where maybe you're introducing yourself to a client for the first time, or you're confirming an appointment, or you're following up after an appointment, that's a really crucial place for video. So those one-to-ones, if you've had a meeting with someone and you're going back to your desk and you're going to press that record button, just dive into it the same way that you would if you were leaving a voicemail. Hey, Casey, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciated, the fact that we could sit down and talk through. You're just diving right into it. And it doesn't need to be a lot. I recommend 60 seconds or less, unless you are giving very specific information to someone that they requested. If someone has requested very specific information and that video goes a little bit longer, they want that information. But for most of your personal one-to-ones, you do want to keep them less than a minute. Get right to the point. Think about it like a voicemail. You don't have to create a long piece for it to have impact. Now, when you're talking about maybe your more, your update videos, or you're staying top of mind with the clients when you're sending out a more wide net, those ones you do kind of want to lead into it a little bit more. Do that, introduce yourself, but you do want to let them know right away that they're going to get value from it. So one of the things that I really recommend is the numbers strategy. And you can say that before the video in the text. Play this video to hear 3 ways to, I don't know. My brain is very much in the real estate and mortgage world and not property management. So I'll give a real estate idea, but 3 ways to, keep winter curb appeal up. Click the video for 3 ways to make sure that you keep curb appeal up in the winter. And so you're hooking them right away with that numbers strategy. So you want to jump right into it, but you want to do, I want to give you guys 3 quick ways, you go through, but because their brain has already decided that there were 3 things they were going to hear, people want to complete that. So you definitely, your one-to-ones, think about it more like a voicemail. Your more broad spectrum videos, you still want to keep them short, but you do want to make sure that you provide value right away. Giving a big preamble, you are going to lose them. If you give too much lead up, people are going to click away. But if you can give them value right away, or you let them know what value they're going to get from the video, then they're much more likely to stay engaged with it.
Yeah, great. That's, that's excellent tips. And, we don't sort of think about that because we've got this phone in our face, so yeah, you do. You kind of go, what do I say, or how should I start? And that's certainly a question I get asked all the time. It's the fearfulness of seeing ourselves on video, but then also, where do I start, Casey? I don't know what message I should deliver first.
Yeah. I always, I really encourage people to think about it as if you had that person in front of you. Now, obviously you don't, it's not a 2-way conversation, but you know what you would say if you were introducing yourself to this person in the first place, or exactly what you would say if you had to leave them a voicemail. Think of it the same way. It's just, you know how to communicate. I always tell people when they're like, I never know when I should send a video or when I shouldn't. I always say to them, before you type out an email, just ask yourself, is what I'm about to say, would this be communicated better by a human? And if the answer is yes, then just send the video, because you already know what you're going to say. You're about to type out the email. So it's like, oh, if I could just say this easier and faster and more clear, just press the record button and do it that way.
Yeah, and look, we spend a lot of time probably thinking specifically in property management about what should we say. There's different legislations and things that we need to abide by, so certain things have to maybe be said a certain way. But we spend a lot of time either rehashing an email, and sometimes it can also be misconstrued at the other end. As you said at the beginning, the tone of that email, the way we wrote it, certain dialogue. Whereas when we're doing it in a platform like this, and I think even this is important, although this is not specific video, but even us today on Zoom, and we're able to talk and communicate. And I did a lot of my listing presentations in this format because I knew that I was far better and I would get the deal done if people could see me, I could talk to them face to face, I could see their body language, all of those different things. So I think even if, encouraging people to even consider Skype and Zoom and those types of platforms to start to introduce video into their world to get used to it.
Yeah. One of the use cases that I encourage real estate agents to use a lot that I think would fit really well in property management is when you have to have a tough conversation about something. Hard information, bad news takes longer for us to process psychologically. So, when you have to call someone on the phone and have a tough conversation, a lot of times when you give them that information for the first time, there's dead air because they're trying to process through that. And they are immediately thinking, how does this affect me? What does this mean? And so there's all of this processing happening in their brain. So video provides you a really great opportunity to preface a tough conversation, or say, listen, we might need to have, a conversation about, I don't know, modifying the terms of the rental agreement. Or when you send a video for that first, you're giving them an opportunity to start to consume that information and start to process it, so that when you do have to sit down and have the conversation, it's been seeded. They've already had an opportunity to absorb some of it. And, anything that is full of human emotion is going to be communicated better by a human than plain text, whether that's bad news or good news. Sending a video for good news is great because they get to see your emotion in it. Hey, congratulations. All of the paperwork is done. We're going to be able to get you your keys right away. They get to feel your emotion, and you get to be a part of their human experience in that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, video has been around for a little while, as you suggested, but we seem to really now be moving into the space where it's certainly becoming more popular. I did mention, unfortunately, here in Australia, we seem to kind of wait a little longer, and we like people to test it out first before we give things a go. So I'm really glad that people in America test things for us and get it working well, and then we can obviously adapt it here. But, just things like having a listing presentation video, or explaining to the client what are your key service offerings, and having that in a video format. Welcoming the tenant to their new home. And these are the things that you need to look for when maybe, rechecking the condition report, or, aspects like that, and having them, and send those different platforms throughout even the terms of their tenancy, just to keep them reminded on what are those terms. So I'm just thinking of so many different ways now that we could start to introduce video into our communication and property management. So I really, thank you so much for sharing some of your fabulous tips with us today.
Absolutely.
I've got my mind's going in circles of, wow, all these things I could be sharing with people.
I'm so glad.
Yeah. And so please finish off and letting us know for our listeners today how they can maybe get in contact with you, or, reach out to BombBomb to undertake the 14-day trial. Have a look at really how BombBomb works.
Absolutely. So we do offer a 14-day free trial. What's great about it is that there's no credit card required. It's not one of those, sign up and remember to cancel it in 2 weeks. It really is a free trial. We have users all over the world. We obviously have users in Australia. And when you sign up for a free trial, we give you an opportunity to have a one-on-one call with one of our reps. Obviously, the time change makes it a little bit more difficult, but I've done demos for people in Australia before. So you can sign up for that. You can take advantage of it. We have a Gmail and an Outlook plugin that will help you set up even on that free trial so that you can start using it even right inside of your Outlook account so that you can record the video and send it that way. The best way to do this is if you go to BombBomb.com/next steps. So really easy, BombBomb.com/next steps. You have an opportunity to sign up for a free trial there. You can start using it right away. And then you just get to play with it. And we have tons of support available, lots of video training, lots of webinars that you can consume on your own time, and an awesome, awesome support team for any tech things that you run into as well.
Yeah, no, great. Yeah, and as I said, I've used it myself, or am using it myself. So the feedback that I've received just in relation to providing weekly updates to my clients has certainly been very they've been very impressed that it's been that 2 minutes email. They can listen to it if they like, opposed to actually watching it if they're in the car and things like that. So I just think that it's allowing for us to communicate in a completely different way. So thank you again for taking your time out. I know it's late at night now. It's probably 9 o'clock your time.
But it's about time to go pour a glass of wine.
I really, really appreciate you sharing your wisdom and your tips there on how we can improve with video and use that to communicate better in what we do in property management.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. As mentioned at the beginning, I have recorded the sessions. So if you would like to receive a further copy to be able to on-share with your team, please do connect with me at Kasey, Kasey, at pmtacademy.com.au. Thanks again, Alicia. And
thank you.
With you soon.
Yeah, have a good rest of your day.
Thank you.